Let's have a lovely pint of ESB Legendary Ale from Fuller's. Very nice. It's my birthday today. So I've just been doing some measurements and I thought I'd open a beer early. Why not? Beautiful. Lovely jubbly. Oh, cheers everyone. Yeah, so unfortunately I'll probably be having a few beers as it's my birthday. So yeah, if you're watching this in the evening, grab a beer and hold on tight. A bit of news first. Last week I turned 2,000 subscribers, which is crazy. I still can't believe that so many people watch the videos I do. It's pretty mad and pretty humbling. So to everyone that watches these, I'm really grateful. I enjoy doing them. Hopefully they're remotely interesting. I'm going to try and improve the way I do them, especially with the editing and stuff. You know, I'm about to go through the measurements of these finished Ditton 15/BC1s, and it'd be nice for me to waffle away and put the measurements up here. The software I use is pretty naff and I can't do that, but yeah, I'll sort that out in the next few weeks, I would have thought. So yeah, 2,000 subscribers, pretty mad really. I mean, I was bowled over when I got 500 subscribers, and now to have 2,000, it's pretty mad. So yeah, thanks to you all. It still amazes me actually, if you look on the statistics on YouTube, the people that watch your videos who aren't subscribed. Yeah, so if you want to help these little channels out, if you can, like and subscribe, as everyone keeps banging on about, that would be really appreciated. Yeah, a bit more news. I'm planning to do a 10-part series on the loudspeaker. Just so part 1 would probably be just an introduction on about a loudspeaker, drivers and bits and pieces, and then each episode go into depth. So like an episode on the cabinet, porting and sealed enclosures, an episode on the drivers, why we have different drivers, crossovers, material inside, all sorts of things. Definitely not aimed at experts. This will be a video series for people wanting to learn a bit more about loudspeakers. Joe Blogs that wants to know why we have all these drivers, why one driver can't do everything. Yeah, definitely not a series for the armchair expert, because you guys are already experts. So yeah, I'm thinking of doing that, passing on what I've learned over the many years, and hopefully it'll inspire a few people to do their own projects and maybe learn something. You never know. Right, okay, so these Ditton 15 cabinets that I repaired, braced, damped internally, built new baffles for, recessed a KEF B200, a Celestion 16 ohm HF 1300 and a 16 ohm Coles super tweeter. So basically this arrangement was the same sort of thing as you'd see in a BC1, and the KEF 8-inch woofer I've always found to be a reasonable substitute for the mid-bass driver in a BC1. Possibly not so much this variant. This is the 1014. The older versions, I think, like the 1022, are a closer match, and I've had good success in the past when a BC1s have arrived here with blown woofers. The early ones were quite fragile, I think. Extortionate money to buy good second-hand ones, and repairing them sometimes, yeah, the lead wires fracture and things like that. There's a few common things that happen to them, but I've always found that woofer to be a good replacement. It involves a bit of crossover adjustment on the woofer circuit, but I've kind of got a record of what I did with that, and it works well. So yeah, I finished these a while ago, and did all the crossover design as you saw in the other videos, and put them all together, and spent a good 2 or 3 evenings listening to them. And last Friday we had them running. God, I probably turned them on at 3 o'clock and we shut them down at about 10. Yeah, just got sucked in with them. They've turned out to be a really good speaker. Very accurate, very detailed, brilliant vocal range. Nothing harsh or shouty. They are, sorry, I got a bit of hay fever as well. They're not bright, but they're on that cusp of being, how would you put it? I don't know, they're just detailed and very open. So not bright, they don't shout at you at all. They're just perfect. They're not at this level where up here would be shouty, down there would be too recessed. They are perfect. And yeah, we just listen to so much different music through them. What I love, you know when you've got a good speaker, because you'll go through all the normal stuff that you always listen to, that you use to sound out a speaker, and is this working properly, is that, blah blah blah. Speakers that will highlight certain issues in the frequency range, cabinet ringing, that sort of thing. But then once all that's out the way and it's good and you're enjoying it, you just settle back, you stop analysing the speaker. One thing I hate is a speaker that you critique all the time. And then you start flicking through all your old music, and maybe we use Cobuzz and Tidal, flicking through other stuff we haven't listened to before, and it just becomes very enjoyable. The speaker doesn't become an object in the room. It's not drawing attention to itself, it's doing what it should do, and that's producing lovely sound, but not something you're really paying attention to. And these are definitely it. I have put these up for sale, but I don't know. This is one of the speakers that I've put a lot of effort into, that I do feel I might keep, because it's so enjoyable. And I tell you now, if you dial in a subwoofer with this, gravy. I think Friday night with a subwoofer running, crossed at about 60 hertz, maybe a bit lower, about 50, was probably one of the best listening sessions I've had. We just got sucked in, and we were listening to old recordings from the 40s, 50s, which are very mid-range prominent, and just lovely. Like the BC1, that's what they did really well, that mid-range vocal region. Very detailed top end. I always go on about cymbals and guitar plucks and decay of the strings and things like that. Magic, absolutely magic. So yeah, burnt in all the components. The caps, I always like to try and get a good 20 hours on them before I really start listening to them, because otherwise you are listening to components that are settling down, and they are probably going to be a bit harsh. So I tend to set them up in the office here and just leave them running overnight quietly, which helps, or just white noise running through them for hours and hours. But yeah, I did the finish measurements earlier. Really pleased, really pleased. So what I'll put up first is the on-axis measurement and phase relationship of the drivers. So I'll stick that in now so you can have a good look. So I hope, as you can see from that, our 1 watt, 1 kilohertz, 1 meter sensitivity is about 89 dB, which is, yeah, pretty good, very good. From 200 hertz right the way up to 20 kilohertz, I think we're plus minus 2 dB. And saying a speaker is plus minus 2 dB from here to here is one thing. That's no good if it's plus 2, minus 2, plus 2, minus 2 all over the shop. If it's like plus 2 up here and then minus 2 and up again, smooth response is what I'm shooting for. I'd rather have a speaker that was plus minus, let's say 4 dB, but smooth. There's certain areas in the frequency response you don't want a higher output. I would say from 800 to 4000 hertz is the area we are very, very sensitive to. I prefer a speaker that is slightly dipped in that region. But these are a little bit, but they're very flat. They are very monitor-like, I would say. And if we look at the horizontal measurements next, you'll see that the once you go off axis 20 degrees, something like that, the mid does start to dip a little bit, that I like. And when I was playing these, I found I didn't want them towed in at me. I wanted them kind of firing past me, and they were really good that way. And you could still move left and right, maybe getting more on axis with the right speaker, more off axis with the left, and they were still fantastic. Really, really good. So that off axis, good off axis performance just allows them to integrate into the room so well. So here's the horizontal measurements. And as you can see, going 15 degrees off axis, which is the purple line, we do get a bit of a peak, about between 4 and 5 kilohertz, but nothing you notice when you're listening to them. And if you go a little bit further off axis, then, you know, we dip a little bit, but the drivers stay in phase really, really well. So those room reflections you're going to get are going to be very similar to the on axis, what you're hearing. So yeah, they integrate into a room really, really well. Vertical measurements, yeah, pretty good really. I shot my measurements on the HF 1300 axis and then went 10 degrees up, 10 degrees up. And really and truly, everything stayed pretty similar. As we got further up, we did develop a little dip between these two drivers at around 14 kilohertz, but you know, that's way up there. And given the short wavelengths, you've got to expect that. Distortion, yeah, just nothing there, nothing jumping out above the noise floor, nothing. So crisp and clean, nothing there at all. I'll put in the on-axis measurement and phase relationship again now. And as you can probably see from that, our crossover point between our woofer and HF 1300 is about 3 kilohertz, which is what it would have been in the BC1, I think around there. I know it is in things like the Rogers LS36. And then our crossover point between the HF 1300 and Cole's Super Tweeter is about 9 kilohertz, something like that, 10. Remember, this naturally rolls off at 13k anyway, but it does break up there. So the BC1 design rolled it off at the top. They did that as well in the DM4, which used this configuration. The Rogers LS36 didn't roll the top of this off. That used the Celestion HF 2000 tweeter, and you'd get this rised response and then a dip and flat at the top. because they didn't pull that down. But yeah, good bass performance as well. Probably we get down pretty flat to 60 hertz, something like that, and then we roll off. I did some near field bass measurements, but they're not really representative. I haven't set these outside to do any testing which would give me a better idea on their bass response, because in here I have to gate it, so I can't really measure lower than 250 accurately. But they have good bass, and if I run the signal generator, I've got output down to 30 hertz. I would say probably 50 is where they start dropping off. But yeah, just really enjoyable. And I think that 8-inch driver in this smaller, it's about a 20-litre cabinet with a port, works well. Yeah, they've been a success. One of the better creations I've done recently, I think. So yeah, I've velcroed around the front, done our covers, which nicely velcro on there with a pull tag at the bottom that I always use, and I mean they've come up lovely. They're really good. So mega pleased. Anyway, I'm rambling on. It's definitely beer o'clock. Thanks again for all the subs, very much appreciated, and I will catch you all on the next project, which is going to be down the BC1 line sort of again, but might be an interesting one. Anyway, catch you all soon.